Good morning. Hopefully, all you guys can hear me correctly. I'm Donnie Bischoff here with CNE Advanced Technologies. Excited to bring you guys our very first virtual technology showcase. So excited, in fact, that I'm actually hosting from the Oval Office. And I'm also going to be checking on your stimulus checks while I'm here because that's how much I care about you guys. So what makes today's session different than the webinars that you guys have been swimming through? Number one, we're actually going to be doing this with a valued supplier, Banner Engineering. So you'll have a chance to ask questions to your distributor and Banner Engineering alike. So that's different. It's going to be, we're going to have live demonstrations and it will be interactive to ask questions. If you look on your screen, you'll see the question and answer icon. It looks like a little chat box with a question mark. If you go inside of that, you'll see a form where you'll be able to ask a question. You'll be able to see other people's questions. What we're going to do is, in between chapters, we're going to stop, we're going to field questions, and we're going to try to be interactive with the audience. So today we're going to have 3 chapters. Chapter 1 will be from Chad Bramer with Banner Engineering. He's going to do the wireless solutions overview and walk you through that. Chapter 2 will be with our CNE's Brad Hart, one of our specialists. He's going to be doing a live demonstration with the vibration kit, with the solutions kit. And then chapter 3 will be with Banner Steve Kaminsky, who will be doing the CDS website overview, as well as an OEE demonstration using the TL70 and Direct Select. So I'm going to try to get through this in about 45 minutes. We appreciate your all's time joining us this morning. And I'm excited to do this. This is live. So here we go.
Thank you, Donnie. I appreciate that. I'm going to go and move into the first section. And you can see here, I'm going to move into the overview of the topic we're going to discuss today. So what would drive a customer to venture into some kind of banner monitoring solution? If these are some of the topics that your team within your organization might be talking about, you know, how do we minimize the unplanned downtime that we're having with when our production is disrupted? You know, what is that costing us? These might be some of the topics you're discussing. Or maybe the repair or the replacement of these assets is getting excessive and it's affecting your budget from year to year. So you might want to consider a banner monitoring solution at that point. Or, you know, labor cost. That's always something. You never see labor costs start to decrease. It's always on the rise. And also, it's difficult too to find qualified skilled trades out in the workplace these days. It seems that that's a struggle for any manufacturer, assembler, or anybody that's in the manufacturing world. The difficulty of locating good maintenance folks, or maybe keeping spares on hand. Maybe that's something that's been a challenge for you guys, or having these available when they're needed. So maybe you need to have some kind of monitoring solution from Banner because of that. Or maybe it's you have someone that comes in on a monthly or bi-monthly basis that comes in and takes readings from critical assets like motors and pumps and gearboxes. And that charge is something that continues to hit your bottom line year in and year out. Or maybe it's just after talking with some purchasing folks, maybe it's the cost of expediting the products to bring them in, the replacement parts. Some told me that the cost of just expediting products has cost them more than the actual product itself. So what does this look like? Well, when you get into a Banner wireless solution, you're going to have what's called the collection side of it. This is something that Banner's been doing for many, many years with the sensors, the tower lights for indication, or maybe it's a sensor like an ultrasonic for tank level or hopper level. So this is something that Banner's done really well over the years. And then we moved into the transmission side. Banner cut its teeth in the transmission side in the oil and gas, the agriculture, the parking, and the wastewater. So this is the second piece of it. You have to have some kind of transmission that takes the data collection and transmits it, and then you have the aggregation and the distribution of it. This is something that Banner has started playing in over the past couple of years with our connected data solutions. And I'll get into more detail with that with Steve's presentation here in the very near future. And then you have the consumption side of it. So the consumption is where you might have somebody in a central control room or a monitoring room that's viewing all this data that's coming up from the plant floor. Or it could be a text message that's hitting someone on the plant floor or at home, or an email. So that would be considered the consumption, along with if you're doing some kind of long-term data analysis, or this could be what people are considering the artificial intelligence of going through data. So some of our competitors have done a really good job of creating these real fancy dashboards, which would sit on this end of it. But the part that Banner excels in, we excel from the very beginning, from the data collection side, from the transmission with our new DXM controllers, along with our connected data solutions on through the consumption side. So we can offer you the entire piece of this, where some of our competitors can only offer you bits and pieces. So that's one other good reason to work with Banner when it comes to these monitoring solutions. So what do some of these pieces look like that I'm talking about? What do they actually do? So some of the peripheral devices that we have, like our Pick-to-Light, this is a radio built into a small HMI. It's called our Direct Select, and Steve will go into more detail. So this is a wireless device that would communicate back to one of our controllers. Or maybe you have a call for parts application. This would be a product that might sit at an operator station and possibly on a fork truck driver, letting them know that you need to bring parts to this location on the plant floor, that they're running low, or you need to refill a bin. Or it could be simple as a temperature and humidity probe with this built-in radio here, that you're trying to determine if the level within your plant, the humidity and temperature during those real hot summer months, is causing you guys problems, and you need to be getting more water to your employees. So it could be as simple as mounting a couple of these out on the plant floor. Or it could be a call for maintenance or a call for supervision. So you have this one push button box, and we also have them in two push button boxes that alarms a supervisor, alarms maintenance, or someone just to come and address a problem that's on the plant floor. And then the all-in-one here, the tank level monitoring that we have. So you have an ultrasonic built into a radio, so it could be tank level, it could be hopper level, anything that you need to take a measurement from. This would be a nice product to use that for. And also, this is a unit that we used in our solution kits that Brad Hart's going to go into more detail. And then we have the nodes or the radios out on the plant floor that can collect discrete or analog data. So this node here can collect 4 discrete in, 4 discrete out, 2 analog in, and 2 analog out. It can use third-party sensors. Obviously, we prefer this to be connected to a Banner sensor, but it can connect to third-party sensors. And then we've added into our tower lights, we've added the capability to have radios, whether it's in the base or it's in one of the segments of the radio. So if you have an existing tower light on the field and you want to wirelessly communicate it to it and provide turn on the lights remotely, you can do that with one of our wireless segments that you can apply to the tower light. And then probably our most successful or most commonly used product out there for condition monitoring or any kind of wireless monitoring is our temperature and vibration sensor for monitoring those critical assets such as a motor, a pump, or a gearbox. So from there, we've expanded that into our pressure sensors, our monitoring for our, not our vibration, but also our current monitoring. So those are just some of the condition monitoring products that we do have. So all these devices can communicate back into what we call our DXM controller, or some people might think of as our IIoT device or our edge device. As you can see, there's two antennas on it. One of those antennas is meant to communicate proprietarily back to our field devices, our wireless devices, and the other one is meant to communicate up to a cloud services, as you can see here. It could be your own in-house cloud service, or it could be the cloud service that Banner is able to provide, and that's something that Steve will go into. Or maybe your preference is to communicate to a PLC or PC-based control system on the plant floor. So with the RJ45 connection on our DXM controller, you can wire in directly into a PLC or some kind of managed switch via Ethernet IP, or soon to come our Profinet, or you can communicate Modbus TCP. Also, directly from our DXM controller, we can do text alerts or emails. It's a simple setup that we have a write-up for on our DXM 700 controller. So what does it look like for the types of networks that we can offer with these different devices? So what we have is we have a performance and a multi-hop network. The performance is a point-to-point communication. So from the DXM controller, you would communicate directly to one of these radios or nodes in the field. And with the multi-hop, it's a mesh network. So it's what we call a self-healing. So if one of the radios needs to be used as a repeater to communicate to one of them further out, it will take that path of least resistance. So with the performance, you can communicate up to 47 nodes out in the field. And along with that, we have two different frequencies that are offered. We have the 900 megahertz and the 2.4 gigahertz. The 900 megahertz is the reason in the US, or it will be used, is the 900 megahertz gives you the longest range. So the communication, or the distance that can be communicated, is 6 miles line of sight. And we know that none of these facilities are line of sight unless it's agriculture. So we come in typically and we'll do what's called a site survey to get you guys, make sure that we can communicate clearly between the DXM and each one of the nodes. The 2.4 gigahertz is something that's going to get us from, it's about a 3,000 feet communications from the DXM to the individual radios out in the field. So with that, I'm going to transfer this over to Brad Hart, and he's going to go through some of the solution kits that we offer.
All right, so can you see me? Hey everybody, how you doing? Hopefully my hair looks good. I tell you, it's been several weeks since I've had a haircut, and this is long for me, so hopefully it looks good. Okay, enough of that. So I'm going to cover the vibration monitoring solutions kit for you, do a little demonstration on this. And what I have in my hand, as you can see, is one of these vibration units, and this is a self-contained unit, all in one, with batteries and antenna. Everything's included, with the marking on the back side here showing you the X and the Z axis. So you may want to determine how to position this onto your asset, being a motor, a gearbox, wherever the case may be. Okay, so this will monitor vibration and in terms of velocity, and also in terms of acceleration. There's also a temperature sensor in the unit. Okay, and on the bottom of this actually happens to have the piece on it where I can mount this onto a rounded surface, and it is a magnetic mount as well. Okay, so that just sticks on it and away you go. Another unit that we have here is the same unit, but it's also with a corded cable here going to the vibration unit, and this is a serial sensor. I do also have this with a magnetic mount. So these are the two I have today, and I want to switch this over here. All right, hopefully that's coming through okay on the desktop there. All right, so this happens to be the vibration solutions kit over here on my right. Over on my left happens to be the motor I'm using. So I actually have a motor in my office here. Okay, and the notion is to mount on the back side of the fan, this unit here. And again, it does show the X and the Y. And we'll just do the magnet mount. Okay, now I believe in this case the Z is going through the shaft and the X is going up and down with the motor. Okay, on the screen itself that you see as it boots up, there are groups of 10 motors. All right. And they're labeled from motors 1 to 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, and 31 through 40. So you can do up to 40 motors with this system. Now, you may not have all 40 motors, so you can easily click on the X in the upper right-hand corner to hide those particular groups. Okay, maybe you only have a handful. Again, if you want to show those again, you just click on that same square to bring them back. If we click on a group of 10, then we see an array of the 10 on the screen itself. And you will notice that one does show a unique green color because that's the one I just affixed to the side of the motor, and that is the unit that is communicating at this time. None of these other motors have, a vibration node communicating to our DXM. Okay, these are unique names, motors 1 through 10. You can choose to click on the motor name itself and give it a unique name. Maybe I will call this, I'll just call it Brad, okay? So now that text name is going to show up everywhere that's going to be related to the motor called Brad, okay? But the first thing that you would want to do when you get this solutions kit, go to the main screen. Because the first, I apologize, let's go back to the settings. That's why I'm going to go main screen and go into settings. I know that was quickly, so this is the main screen. In the lower right-hand corner is settings. Click on the gearing icon. Now here's where we can set up the binding. Okay. Click on binding. In groups of 20, 1 through 20, 21 through 24. Here's that name Brad that carried over.
Excuse me, Brad. Can I ask you to zoom in and maximize your screen?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm seeing your teams. That's why I'm asking.
You're seeing my teams.
Your teams window. You're sharing your whole desktop.
Ah, I understand. Okay. Maybe that's a better view. Okay. So we would need to bind the node. Now, what I'll do is I'll take, this is our second node, node number 2. Currently, it is not powered on because there are no lights flashing on it. Okay. So there is a button in the top of the node here that I can press and hold down, and then it will turn power on. You see the lights start to flash. Okay. Next thing I want to do on the screen is for motor number 2, I want to turn that switch on to put the DXM into a binding mode. Okay, so now the DXM is announcing out to the wireless world of Banner, hey, I want to bind node number 2. So going back to this node, to bind it, all you do is you triple click button number 3, or triple click 3 times this button. 1, 2, 3. You see the lights change state to go into a binding mode. And once it is bound, you will see the status change. and to confirm that it is binding or that it is bound to the DXM gateway. So that's how you go through the process of binding a node. In addition to, this style of housing, the Q45, you do have the traditional DX80 type, where they do have the 2 rotary switches. Okay, the left switch does the tens digit, the right switch does the singles digit. And the same thing would be true. Okay, put that in the binding mode, you turn power on. This determines the binding number for this node, and then it will become bound, which you're triple clicking button number 2, and then triple clicking to turn it back off. Okay, so we're done with the binding, and that is bound. So let's just ignore that nuisance message right now. All right. So now if we go to motors 1 through 10, we should see the status come up for motors 1 and 2. There's motor number 1. All right. Now, if we go into motor number 1, okay, and again, I apologize for this message. This sometimes happens when you're doing a demo and you want to be able to monitor things in a fast mode, which I don't have it at this time, so bear with me. All right. All right, bear with me. Sometimes even when you do demos when you're live in front of a studio audience, or even through an event like this, things tend to happen, and that's okay. We'll just reboot this. We got our node already connected now, and what I want to show you, once this boots up, we'll go in. Now this is the trend screen here. Okay, and I'm going to start up my drive. And before I get that, I do need to put this into demo mode for fast sampling. Otherwise, the sampling that's occurring between the DXM gateway and the Q45 node here is happening every 5 minutes. So if we go into a fast sampling, then it's occurring as fast as possibly. Now I want to zoom in on the time scale. It's set to 2 hours. I'm going to change this to 0.1 hours. Scale maximum set to 1 inch per second on this velocity axis. I'm going to go to 0.5 inches per second. So now we can start to see the scale pop up here. Okay. And I know it may be kind of hard to see from the camera here, but this is the x-axis velocity that I'm measuring at this time. And the value is 0.01 inches per second. And I'm running about 20% speed on the motor. Now, the other lines you see here, the white line is the actual value. The blue line is a previous baseline that was set previously, and I'll go into that here in just a moment. The yellow line is for an alarm and or warning, and the red line would be for, a critical alarm. Okay. And so I'll cover how those are set in just a minute. But here we are, we see the velocity setting at 0.1 inches per second. Now, if I were to speed this motor up to about 30% speed, and right now everything seems to be just fine and dandy. Okay. If I go up to about 40 or so percent speed, there's 48%. So far, so good. But as I increase that and go a little faster, you may see a bump, but I believe if I have this set right, and I have a washer taped to the shaft to give me, to impart some vibration, otherwise there's no load on it. Now we see the spike in the velocity going above and then coming back down again on the warning track, okay? Now our velocity is up to about 0.4 inches per second, or 0.04, excuse me. If I speed it up and go faster with that counterbalance on the shaft, I'm all the way up to 92%. If I go up to 100%, I can really start to feel the vibration. We'll see what the velocity does. All right, so we can see that occurring here. We can also go look at the acceleration. We see it trending as well. That's on the x-axis. We go now to the z-axis. We see that it's actually above what these threshold limits are. And we have an alert state and we've gone red. Okay, and then here's the acceleration as well. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the drive. Okay, so the velocity is good for determining if you've got any issue with worn belts, a loose mount, things like that. Acceleration is good to determine if you have like a flat starting to occur on a bearing, all right, which tends to come around maybe once a revolution, so to speak. So that's where velocity and acceleration comes into play. You also have the ability to look at the trend of the temperature as well. Now, how these baselines are actually calculated, go to the main screen, go to settings, into asset baselining, and here's where you can actually start the baseline for one of the units. Now, for some reason, I was already in a baselining for motor number 2, but you can actually manually adjust the baselines by clicking on the button for the respective motor and then manually changing those values. So if I wanted to bump one up, I can manually bump up the alarm setting for the X velocity from 0.1 to maybe a 0.2 and enter, and now that setting will be there in place. Okay. But if I wanted to do a baseline, the total number of baseline samples by default is set to 300. And if we're taking a sample every 5 minutes, and that's about 25 hours, I believe, to create the baseline. So you want to make sure that that motor is running for a long time in order to generate that accurate baseline. The next field down below is called acute alarm samples. All right, and that is set to 5 at this time. So that means that if there's 5 consecutive samples, all right, in which that value is above the alarm limit, then it's going to go into, hey, you truly have an issue at your machine, your motor, your gearbox, wherever the case may be. And so that's going to go red and it's going to stay red, all right, until you get the situation resolved. All right, once the baselining is complete, then when you go back into look at your motors, all right, then you're going to have a new set of trend lines here, your baselines on your graph. And so that blue, which is where you would have actually measured it, may have moved. And if I was running at 20% speed on my motor, which would be, in my case, maybe normal condition, that blue line would have moved further down to where that bottom white line is, okay? And the yellow and the red lines would have adjusted accordingly. Okay, again, you do have this that's capable for up to 40 motors. And there are 2 other products that I believe Banner has as well for a solutions kit. You have the vibration temperature monitoring. Let me shrink this down here. The other two possible kits, there is a wireless temperature and humidity solutions kit that's available. Then there is a wireless tank solutions kit. Now this one offers you to be able to connect up to 16 nodes at this time, where the vibration and the temp and humidity allow you to go up to 40 nodes total. And looking at this last slide here, it looks like possibly there's one on the way that could be for pressure as well. Well, I apologize for the hiccup there with the little nuisance alarm message there on the screen, but for the most part, that is the solutions kit. Again, you just drop it into place, bind your nodes to your gateway, do your baselining for each of your sensors one at a time, rename your motors if necessary, and away you go. Back to you.
Hey, Brad.
Yes.
So we have a question.
Okay.
Can I send or receive a text message if an alarm happens?
Can you receive a text message if an alarm happens? There is the capability to send email messages, and you are able to send a text message via an email by using, Verizon or AT&T, whatever carrier that is, right, to be able to send a text message via, from an email. So that is possible. The DXM also has the ability to add a cellular modem to it. So in a sense, you could send out text messages via the cell modem. So that capability is there, and it is possible.
Before we move on, just encourage you guys in the audience to check out the question feature. So we'll wait just a moment. Right now, I don't see any more questions. But again, if you have them, throw them in here, and we will. We want to interact with you guys. So if we don't have anything else, we'll. Looks like we don't. We'll move forward to Steve Kaminsky, where he will be doing his OEE demonstration.
All right, so how's everybody doing today? Okay, can you guys hear me?
You are on, Steve.
Okay, super. All right, so as you guys see on my screen over here, what I've done is I've taken what Brad has, took what Brad did with the solutions kit, and I'm going to move that data basically from his kit, or a kit that I have running at my house today, and I'm going to move that up so that you guys can actually see it on Banner connected data. So this is very much like what Chad was talking about, where we're kind of end-to-end solutions with Banner engineering. So we've got sensors, we've got controllers, we've got wireless methods to bring the information from the sensor to the controller. So we've got all that tied together, and this is kind of the final step here. So Banner CDS, and what this is entailing here that you see is I'm showing very similar to what Brad was showing you earlier with the hardware kit that would be located at your factory. This is going to be your virtual connection. So if you like, you can do it in this fashion as well. So with this is a pre-established dashboard. You don't have to develop this. This comes pre-developed for you when you utilize Banner CDS for your vibration solutions kit. If you notice, we've got, like Brad had 4 large icons on his first main screen. You represented the icon number 1 was motors 1 through 10. I've got 40 different motors shown up on here just to give you a quick view. But what you can do is, just like Brad was doing, he was drilling down into a specific motor and looking at velocity, looking at acceleration, temperature, elements like that. So what we have going on here is a real basic connection piece, if you would, to the same thing Brad was showing you. So when I look at this, I'm going to go in, I'm going to grab one of my motors, and I've got my motors are either in a warning or an alarm state this morning. So I'm going to grab motor number 3. I'm just going to click on this guy here, this icon, and it tells me this is the problem that's going on. So I got a quick view of it And it says, yeah, I've got a lot of x-axis issues. Short term, like Brad had mentioned, with the acute, and also got some long-term velocity issues too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on this item view, and now you're going to see a view similar to what you were seeing when Brad was showing you the individual screens on the kit. Now I'm going to just show it to you all as one up here, where here is that velocity. So Brad would show you the velocity of a given motor. So here's my velocity of this motor. It was sitting idle over the night. This is a 12-hour view on the screen right now. So it was sitting idle overnight, and then I turned it on this morning. And you can see what, here's the vibration and the velocity in the z-axis that's going on. If you want to look at the x-axis, you have that as well as the acceleration elements. So if you wanted to go in and look at your acceleration items, you have those available to you as well. So you've got a number of different elements within here. You also can see that we're showing the temperature. So again, just like what Brad had with the kit, you're seeing that as well. And then we're also showing those baseline settings. So when you do a baseline for the motor, you can do it at the kit. You can also do it if you're looking online. You can re-baseline that given motor. So as an example, I can come in and just toggle this guy on. And what it's going to do is it's going to update my screen. And the next time that the kit talks to our website, what we're going to see is we're going to see that update happening. And it's going to go ahead and start the baselining automatically from our remote position. So very easy way of doing this with the Banner CDS is kind of an extension to what you have going on with the solution kits. So we're going to jump out of this. I'm going to change over my screen here, and we're going to do a little PowerPoint real quick on the, let's see here, on OEE. So on the OEE side, now we're going to jump over from monitoring vibration and current and doing it in the kit and then doing it online to we're going to do another thing that we actually do at Banner Engineering. So when we get into this, at this point here, we do a very nice solution also for OEE, or overall equipment effectiveness. Okay, so we're going to be looking at OEE as we go through this and kind of determine how is the machines running? What's their best state? Are they performing well? What else needs to be done with them? So we're going to look at overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE. We're going to use it to monitor machinery uptime, downtime. We're also going to be looking at cycle time on this. We're going to deal with, how long does it take to change over a machine? Maybe some setup time, teardown time, your quality elements. That's what OEE is about. So let's talk a little bit about that and what we've got on the Banner side and how we can make this all work here for you. Let me just change over my slide here. Okay, so OEE is essentially the available time that you have on a machine compared to your actual running time. It's also part of that equation is your theoretical production. How much can you really make versus what you're really doing? What is your true production for the day? And then when you get into that real production, that true production, how much of it was good product? So this is basically the formula for OEE. In other words, it's basically saying how much time do you have available? Are you using it? How much productivity or production do you have available, and are you using it? And are you actually making good parts? So what's the quality function there as well? So that's OEE in a nutshell. Now, with OEE, you can do a number of different things, like we mentioned, looking at quality of things, looking at uptime, downtime. And some of the products that we have at Banner that allow you to do this are, as Chad mentioned earlier in his presentation, they are items such as our push button boxes. Now we've got multiple options here for push buttons, and these can be powered with 24 volts or they can be battery powered, so they're easily deployed. And these guys are mechanical push buttons, if you want to think of them that way. They also each give you feedback to the operator, so they know what's going on and what's the status of their operation. So when you look at this, it makes it a very simple, easy way to deploy solutions. Make sure that as far as OEE, monitoring your machine health, and if they are in a stop time, in a downtime, you've got options in order to call those out. So what do we have beyond the push buttons? We've also got Direct Select. Direct Select is a hybrid device. The Direct Select has got an operator interface, and it'll give you a basically a 3-digit number. So if you need to pick a certain number of parts, or you want to give a certain code for why you are down at your workstation, maybe code number 3 is for quality issue. You can scroll up or down, take it to 3, and you can actually send that value back into the system. Say, hey, I am down. Workstation 2 is down because of a quality issue. So that's what you have with the direct select, and that's how that guy is. Just a quick example of what it can be. It can be a very smart button. It also has got that green indicator and the green push button on there. That helps you determine whether you've got maybe good parts, bad parts. If you're running in good time, that can be controlled remotely. So you've got some really neat solutions that you can do there with the direct select. Additionally, we've got the TL70 series. We have a TL70 and also the K70. The K70 is going to be the lower red button with a touch button on top of it. That K70 touch will also be able to take in not only the input that you're giving it, but you can also bring in other inputs to that, as well as the TL70, the light, the green and red light right next to it. The TL70 light gives you the advantage, again, to bring in more inputs directly into the light. We monitor those inputs and we can send those back over to the main system. Say, is the machine running or is it down? So you've got different tools to bring in a variety of different inputs there. The top one, the one that looks like it's in black and white, that's actually the color of the product. But that top one that says SureCross across the top of it, that's actually a method for bringing in AC inputs. So if you had AC outputs on your machine, you have contactors, that are just supplying AC. We can go into those contactors, draw off of there, and bring it into that particular product. That it's basically a wireless node with an AC base, and allows us some great connectivity and to work in some older type of equipment that might be out there. So it gives you some flexibility to do all that. So when you have this, you've got an easy way of getting connectivity off of your machines. You also have final product here. This is that connecting device. Now, Brad and Chad had talked a little bit about DXM series 700s and things like that. This is the 1200 series. This guy here just allows you to directly connect Ethernet right out of this guy, bring in power, bring in Ethernet, and now I can connect this over to the internet. I can bring data elsewhere, wherever I may like it. But this is just another, the centerpiece here, this is just another one of our edge devices, and this is called the DXM 1200. So this is a little view of what we have for products to help bring in information from the plant floor over to a central location to say, how well are my machines running? And that's really what OEE is all about, let alone being able to do embedded counters. Some of these devices have got embedded counters in them, things like that. So it's a very cool solution when you need to say, how effective is my equipment on the plant floor? Okay, so as a little wrap on that, quick thing, a couple of things that we do with those. Not only are we taking and bringing together that current status of that stack light or that push button, but we're also totalizing those parts, like I mentioned. We're calculating things such as the on time within our devices. We're looking at the count of each time something turns on and off, so you know the number of cycles that you've gone through. We're also looking at whether you have lost communications. In other words, we want to make sure the data is good. So if there is an RF issue, we can inform you of that. But also, what's going on? Why are the lights all off? What's happening here? So you have a great method for feedback from the solution or from the system that tells you, again, how effective your equipment is running. All right, so let's take a quick little mention here as well. We do have the software already developed for doing an OEE solution. We also have the software developed to do like the vibration kits, the tank level kits, temp and humidity. We'll also have the new one that Brad mentioned, the pressure kit. Those are also available as software elements as well. And in this case here, we don't have a kit, a physical hardware box developed. We don't have that, but we do have all the software created. So you can go ahead and utilize, the different TL70s or K70 devices, our touch buttons, our lights, and incorporate them back into a DXM, and you'll get great control. So that's already written up. gives you a great idea of how to do it, what we're doing inside our software, and the tools that you'd need to do that. So if you have questions on that, reach out to the C&E guys and they'll help you identify, the parts you need, things like that. All right, and Chad also brought this up early on. I just wanted to reiterate, we're going everything from the, kind of banner sensors, radios, that controller in the aggregation side of it, where we're taking and we're aggregating our data, putting it together, maybe starting to move it to the cloud with our connectivity, whether it be over Ethernet or cellular, and then pushing it over finally to the banner CDS side, or maybe even directly just from that controller and having that controller send out maybe an email, say, hey, you have an issue, you need to take care of this. So again, Banner's offering these end-to-end solutions, whether it be for vibration monitoring, tank levels, or the effectiveness of your machines running on the plant floor. So with this, let's go ahead and let's take a quick look. I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to change back over. We are going to look at your, change this guy real quick here. I'm going to look at, get to the right spot here. Get to here. Sorry about the delay here, guys. Here we go. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking, once again, like I did from Brad's demonstration, where we've gone from the kit to the virtual Banner connected data solution, or Banner CDS. We're going from that with his kit to where you saw the motor information online. This is the information from an OEE side of it. So when we go from actually looking at and pulling data on how well is are my machines running on the plant floor, we're going to take that data, we're just going to move it up to the Banner connected data site. And once again, you can see here where we're showing simple things. So if you have a layout of your plant, you want to drop in a couple icons. We're using stack lights here that are showing the operation of the day today. But these stack lights here, they're little icons placed over an image. So I can click on any one of the icons. I can bring up the data that's associated with it, or I can have a nice overview dashboard as an example. And this is a great one that shows parts count. So each day they're counting up, they're building up production on the different parts, and then they reset that count back to 0 at night, and then they restart over again for different shifts. So you'll see different shifts changing over as they go through it. You'll also see basic status, what's happening. We use red, yellow, green, blues, different colors within our stack lights. And what we do is we put them up here. We allow you guys to name these guys out. So however you want to call out the status or the condition that's being represented by a yellow light, you can do that. You have that ability to go ahead and edit and make alterations as need be. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how we go from the raw sensor at Banner all the way through to connecting up to a website, sharing data. And remember, this is our website. It's available, bannerengineering.com and bannercd.com as well. But you can also take the data that's coming from these controllers and you can move that to a server of your choice as well. So there's methods for doing that. And again, if you have questions on that, feel free to reach out to the folks over at C&E, and they'll be more than happy to tell you, hey, this is how we do that. So with that, I think I'm all set. So I'm gonna give control back over, I think, over to Donnie and let you take over.
Donnie, you're lip syncing.
I apologize, everyone. There's a delay here when you're behind this thing. So thank you, Steve. Unless you could read my lips, you won't understand the question. So I'm going to go ahead and say it audibly now. We had a question from the audience. What is the IP rating of the DXM 1200, and do you need an enclosure?
Yeah, the IP rating on the DXM 1200, that's an IP67 unit, and it's designed to be mounted out in the open. So it can be mounted on the plant floor. Obviously, you want to give a little protection, don't want to put it right out there where it could be bashed around. But otherwise, yeah, you can make industrial cable connections right to the base of it. Touch screen on it, everything. It's all designed for IP67.
So I guess we'll wait a moment to see if there's any more questions. I suppose before we close up. We didn't have anything else planned. This was our opportunity to for Q&A for anybody in the group. So while I wait a minute, I'll go ahead and throw a question out there, which is why would you purchase any of this Banner wireless solution? Quick answer is, and it may sound cliche, but it works. Some of our competitors come in and they try to give you cheap product, and then they charge you loads on the back end for the data collection. And that is exactly opposite of what Banner is doing. You virtually get the data collection and the portal for free. I mean, there is money behind it, but it's pennies on the dollars, and you could basically collect data for 7-8 different plants, and still not even hit some of the peak data collection that they offer. So secondly, why would you purchase through C&E? And that is because you get Mr. Brad Hart there to support you. There's a lot of things that we can do for virtual support. We have assisted in startups over the phone. We've assisted in startups through video messaging. There's a lot of things that we've been able to do as a company to help you guys without having to show up. We know you have restrictions on us walking through the door, and there's a lot of things that we can do to work around those restrictions. It looks like we have another few questions here. Will there be a recording of this meeting available for replay? Yes, there will be. We will be able to send out a link to how to get this. I'm not sure if this will be published on our YouTube page or not, but we'll work to get this video out. Another question here, and I'm gonna let Chad field the answer on this one. And that question is, what with the temp and vibe kit, can it be used for things other than motors?
Yes, it can. It can be used for pumps. It can be used for gearboxes, fans. It can be used for anything. You could even use it to tell that something is actually up and running. So it will give you a feedback whenever you're getting any kind of vibration. So it just doesn't have to be limited to motors. That's why on the solutions kit, you have the option to be able to go in there and name whatever the device is. So it's very flexible.
Okay, looks like that's all the questions that we have for now. I want to thank everybody for joining. Remind everybody that it's Happy Cinco de Mayo. Oh, we got another question. What is the cost of a typical vibe and temp kit?
So I'll go ahead and run with that. So the solutions kit list price, you're looking at $2,500, $2,600. So that's everything. So that's the program that's loaded that does all the baselining, the software that comes along with it, the HMI, the controller, and then for the sensor and for the node, you're looking between $400 to $500 per. So to get a running system to collect data on one critical asset, you're looking at around $3,000. So to have it up and running, and that's very inexpensive for other products that are out in the marketplace.
Chad, while we're on that question, do you want to go ahead and speak to some of the pricing for the data collection service that you guys have, and kind of maybe do a better overview than what I just gave?
Well, actually, I think I'm going to pass that off to Steve, if you don't mind. Steve, can you run with that, please?
Yeah, one more time, Donnie, with your question. I'm sorry.
Just to parlaying off the question about the temp and vibe kit pricing, can you give a better explanation of the pricing around the data collection service that Banner provides?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So what we're doing is, our main function at Banner, we're a manufacturer of hardware. So we're really producing the website, was originally done as a tool to help promote the hardware. And that's what we're continuing to do here as well. So that's why Donnie mentioned that it's very, very low cost. Basically, we are passing on the cost of holding data onto the customer. Now, we don't hold the data locally. We're using a nationally known server provider to do that. So that does cost us. So we want to just make sure that we do pass that along at a very reasonable rate. And that's what we're doing. And what you get is basically different levels of packages that are available. And one of the packages is perfectly suited to just taking the data from the solutions kit and displaying it like you saw in my presentation. So you can take the data directly from your kit, put it up there, got a good cost point, very simple. And again, there are different size solution, what do I want to call them? Solution packages, if you would, for the various amounts of data that you want to store. But definitely we got one sized up just nice to do a solutions kit, and then even beyond that if need be.
Okay, I've got one more question here. It says, I know the name can be changed. Can the icon be changed of the motor to let's say a fan on the kit?
Chad, do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Sure, yeah. So on the physical kit, where you have the HMI and the display and all that, that is fixed with that icon. Now, when you do move it up to the cloud or to Banner CDS, you do have that ability of changing the icon on Banner CDS. There's a method you're going to save what I showed you, and then you can go ahead and edit it and alter it and change that icon. Now, we don't have a lot of icons available today. We got like tank levels, pressures, motors, things that we've got things associated with today, but we're always in development. We'd love to talk to anybody who's got questions about that and see what we can do to help them out further. So again, just reach out to the folks at C&E and we'll be there to help them.
Hey, Donnie, let me go ahead and expand a little bit on the web service pricing. So we have what we call a starter kit. That's $300. That's going to give you about 1,000 data points per hour. And we have a calculator online that would help with coming up with those number of data points that you would need based on the gateway and the actual points that you'll be collecting. And then these are all annual prices, so the $300 annually. And then we have this middle package, I like to call it's the standard. We have 4,000 data points per hour, and that's $1,200 annually. And then our largest package is $3,000 annually, and that's for 12,000 data points per hour. So there's a calculator out there that can help with that. If you have any more questions about that, we can obviously C&E can sit down with you and calculate those numbers of how many data points you're going to be using per hour and come up with what's the best package for you.
Good deal. While you're live there, Chad, how long does it typically take to install a temp and vibe solutions kit once you receive the kit?
So it's you can get a system up and running under an hour. So it's very simple, like Brad Hart went through. You simply, once you get it in and you locate the asset that you want to monitor, you just have to provide power to the solutions kit itself. And depending on if you're the node or the radio that you're connecting the sensor to, is it battery powered or is it line powered? And then providing power to that. And then once you bind it up, it's automatically going to go into baselining mode. So it will start baselining and we'll take those samples every 5 minutes for a 24-25 hour period. And it's going to take 300 samples. So you'll start collecting immediately, but if you're looking to do baselining, it's going to take about a day before the baseline is complete. If you already know the baseline and you want to manually go in and input that like Brad showed you, you can manually input those baselines and start collecting immediately. So within under an hour, you can get it up and running.
So one of our TCs here, Shane Evilsizer, this parlays to the question about, is there anything else that you can monitor outside of motors? So Shane popped on here and is sharing something one of his customers is doing, and they're testing with one of the sensors and a DXM controller on a dip tank, And if and when the large subframe assemblies fall off the racks and actually into the tank, there's a large spike in vibration. So they've got it mounted there to catch that. So if it happens, they can see it and prevent a backup in the tank. That's just kind of some outside of the box thinking that we've seen some of our customers do outside of the motor. If anything that could happen that causes vibration, naturally this can catch it. So that was appreciate Shane sharing that. That was a neat one. So I guess we can wait a second here to see if any other questions pop in. Want to remind everybody while we're waiting that it is Cinco de Mayo today. So we understand that this VTS Virtual Technology Showcase event was the #1 thing on your to-do list, and you're free to leave work after that and go start celebrating while you decide which products from Banner you want to buy. So I encourage everybody to take off and do that, because we know that this was #1 on your list, and we appreciate you guys making this #1 on your list. So with that, don't see any other questions coming in. I certainly want to thank everybody for joining. I want to let you guys know that we have large customers right now that are using this system, and it's working. And we're in fact right now in the process of installing a gigantic data collection using this Banner wireless at another customer as we speak. So if you have any questions about that, or want to know where successes that we have, please ask me, ask our TCs, ask Banner. We'll be happy to share. This is real. It's working. We're excited about it. Thank everybody for joining. We're going to have more of these virtual technology showcases in the future, so be sure to follow C&E so you can check out what we've got coming up. We've got a podcast that's going to be continuing to be released. It's our Tech Talk with our specialist. So look forward to seeing everybody, and thank you guys for popping on today.
We will be sending out a survey to let you know more about this, and we've got some documentation we want to send you. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.